Ice Station Zebra was produced by Martin Ransohoff, who bought the rights to Alistair MacLean's popular novel and intended to start production in 1965 with Gregory Peck starring as Commander Faraday. Peck had scored a major hit earlier in the decade starring in another Alistair MacLean adaptation, The Guns of Navarone. But production on Ice Station Zebra was temporarily stalled, partly because the U.S. Department of Defense objected to the way that military life was portrayed in the script. In the end, a new screenplay was written that incorporated the necessary changes, but scheduling conflicts made it impossible for Gregory Peck to star. Shooting finally began in 1967, and Rock Hudson won the role after lobbying to play Faraday. The movie gave Hudson's career an important boost at a time when he needed it. And as for its Oscar nomination for Best Visual Effects, it was one of just 2 films nominated in that category that year. The other one was Stanley Kubrick's groundbreaking 2001: A Space Odyssey, which took home the Academy Award. Up next, we're sticking with director John Sturges for another action-packed film, a Western from 1958 starring Robert Taylor and Richard Widmark.
Next on TCM, The Law and Jake Wade. Then, Born Yesterday. And later, The Solid Gold Cadillac. Judy's Dressed Like $1 Million on TCM tonight.
It takes a certain kind of man to skim mountain peaks at 400 miles an hour, to race down a lonely, treacherous ski slope, to conquer the sea on a surfboard, to push a machine to incredible speeds. It takes daring, confidence, individuality, consummate skill. And if we add the talent and technical know-how of a top-flight photographer, we get a picture of an extraordinary man, John Stevens. Second unit photographer is the modest name given to the important role John Stevens plays in the making of a major motion picture. He learned his trade in the Navy as an underwater photographer. Today, Stevens is the top man in his field. His current assignment, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer's Ice Station Zebra. His job, to shoot the impossible. John got his first chance to show off his skills at Sun Valley. He astounded a film company shooting there with his unforgettable skiing photography. Discovery by Hollywood led Stevens to his biggest assignment before Ice Station Zebra, the awesome task of filming the sensational racing sequences for the motion picture Grand Prix. The races were filmed live from the cars themselves. No process photography was used. It was all incredibly real. Stevens designed and built special remote control rigs and mounts for the film so that he was able to direct the movement of the cameras from inside or outside the cars. His helicopter shots added still another dimension to the excitement and breathtaking action that made Grand Prix the most successful racing picture ever produced. Another Stevens innovation. A special gyro mount to put an entire audience on the end of a surfboard or on a pair of water skis. Ice Station Zebra is the story of a search. A search that brings the United States and the Soviet Union to the brink of a nuclear war. Stevens' first job was to fly a dangerous 10 feet above the water at Lake Tahoe as a prelude to skimming the teeth of icebergs at 400 miles per hour. Because of the extremely low altitude required for filming, Stevens did have some problems. At the North Pole, supersonic jets fly over a tiny weather station known as Ice Station Zebra. At this lonely outpost, the United States and Russia will clash in a strategic polar showdown. The Cinerama version of the best-selling novel stars Rock Hudson, Jim Brown, Ernest Borgnine, Patrick McGowan, and in his own way, John Stevens. Talent, training, and years of experience paid off in the challenge of Ice Station Zebra. With the cooperation of his old boss, the United States Navy, John set about doing the impossible once again. A nuclear submarine, the USS Ronquill, was loaned to MGM for shooting the picture, and Stevens immediately took over with special cameras, electronic devices, newly designed equipment, and dozens of technicians. Stevens worked out a special camera case, sealed against moisture, and able to withstand the tremendous pressures underwater. The electronically operated camera was placed in the case along with a tiny closed-circuit television camera. The entire device could be mounted anywhere on the ship. As a test, it was positioned high on the sub's conning tower. A TV monitor was placed in the safety of the ship's interior. Not only could Stevens and director John Sturges control the camera from inside, but they could actually see the kind of results they were getting on film. The test was a great success. And the camera position was changed in order to film the first continuous focus scene of a crash dive. The look of these Ice Station Zebra scenes is no accident. The work of cameraman John Stevens makes them incredibly real. And this reality makes the difference between an ordinary movie and a great one.
What wines pair well with Elvis?
The TCM Wine Club pairs the movies you love with curated wines from around the world.
His films would pair with a white wine. They're all such a good time. They're light, they're breezy.
Effervescent.
Exactly.
From the big screen to behind the scenes, every glass tells a story.
I wrote this script for Ben for Jailhouse Rock.
Did he swivel the leg and everything?
Join now to receive 15 wines, including 3 exclusive movie wines delivered straight to your door.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Go to tcmwineclub.com or call 1-844-WINE-TCM.
Kay was a very nurturing kind of an actress. And I was still doing these little bit parts, not bits, little tiny roles, you know. I said, Kay, do you ever get out of this? Oh, she said, it'll come, it'll come. And I said, well, so it's Christmas, you know. And we'd sit and we'd talk about how do you approach a role? I mean, what are you thinking behind it? Never mind the words. What's the attitude of the whole thing? Well, I didn't know what she was talking about. I mean, it was Greek to me. But she stuck with me. And from her, I learned, and she was so wonderful on the screen anyway, I learned so many, I wouldn't call them tricks, they're not tricks, but so many wonderful things to store in the back of my mind. So if the opportunity came along, it's there, and I can pull it forward. And that was a great help.
Hi, I'm Ben Mankiewicz, and this is my podcast, Talking Pictures.
Who knew you were funny?
I knew I was funny.
This season, I'm talking to the people who make us laugh.
You know, comedy variety is a man's game. It's not for you gals. We have this sitcom we'd love you to do called Here's Agnes.
Henry Winkler, Carol Burnett, Bridget Everett, Margot Robbie, Jane Lynch, Bill Murray, and many more.
I did end up slapping Leo in the audition. I was like, why did you have to do it so hard?
Listen to Talking Pictures on Max or wherever you get your podcasts.
Now, this is really quite simple. I'm going to say one word, and then I want you to come back at me as fast as you can with whatever word comes to your mind.
Okay.
Comfort.
Chicago.
Now, what made you say that?
That's what I was thinking about.
Quite a picture. We had Robert Ryan, Ernie Borgnine, Charlie Bronson, Telly Savalas, John Cassavetes. I really was glad to be a part of it.
2 days from now, you'll be learning how to jump with a parachute, and you'll learn it quick. This training will take place at a regular Army base. And I just want to remind you that this operation is secret. Top secret.
And Charlie was always kind of a quiet guy.
Those two gorillas beat up Waterslow.
Those are the two guys.
And we had the same dressing room for a couple of months and got to know each other pretty well. I really liked Charlie.
I don't like officers. Not any of them, and I never have.
Charlie was very physical. Liked to keep in shape, so did I. There was a wooden table. He said, I want to show you something, Clinton. He stood there, and from just standing, he jumped up on the table. Jumped off. He said, can you do that? Well, I didn't know whether I could do it or not. And I thought, gee, I tried to jump up there. If I don't make it, I might take some skin off my shins on the edge of the table. But anyhow, I went ahead and did it, and by golly, I made it. I was able to jump on the table.
The big screen is calling from the Big Apple. TCM is proud to partner with the 92nd Street Y for a TCM Classic Film Festival New York pop-up. Don't miss Meryl Streep when she takes the stage before a special screening of Out of Africa. Plus, a not-to-be-missed conversation with Martin Scorsese. And Drew Barrymore will present 20th Century. It goes down January 25th at the 92nd Street Y. Tickets on sale now. For more, visit 92ny.org/TCM.
Welcome back to TCM. I'm Dave Karger. If you've been with us all afternoon, we've been presenting a string of movies directed by John Sturges. After starting out as a capable director of film noirs in the 1940s, Sturges earned a reputation as one of the finest directors of action movies in the 1950s and 60s, including The Magnificent Seven and The Great Escape. He also excelled when it came to westerns, beginning with the 1957 classic Gunfight at the OK Corral. Up next is a film he made on the heels of that picture, another Western from MGM in 1958, The Law and Jake Wade. Robert Taylor plays a reformed outlaw, now serving as a town marshal. But his past catches up with him when his old partner, a psychotic criminal played by Richard Widmark, comes back into his life. For Widmark, this was the kind of role he started out playing in Hollywood, beginning with his Oscar-nominated debut a decade earlier in 1947's Kiss of Death. By this point, in 1958, Robert Taylor was also routinely starring in Westerns. He had started out at MGM in the mid-1930s playing dashing leading men in romantic melodramas. But in the 1940s and 50s, he became eager to prove that he was a lot more than a matinee idol, and he gave memorable performances in a wide range of films, including war movies, crime dramas, and lavish historical adventures. As the years went on and he began to look visibly older, he preferred starring in Westerns. He felt that the genre was well suited to aging actors who could play worn-out, older characters without looking out of place. As Taylor put it, "My drawing room, for that matter, my boudoir days are over, in the movies anyway." Here he is in 1958, also with Patricia Owens in The Law and Jake Wade.